Dr. Rose Ngugi is the Executive Director of KIPPRA, the Kenya Institute for Public Policy.
Not of.
For Public Policy Research and Analysis. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Ngugi.
Thank you.
We've had you on this show, but via video link. Now having you here is good, and it's important. KIPPRA is an institution that's very, very important for the country. You've told us this before, but there are people who may not have heard the last time that you're here. So let's reintroduce KIPPRA to the public. What is KIPPRA?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here. This is my second time.
Oh, yeah, it's its second.
Yes, yeah. So, but that time, I think we were virtual, so I never met any of you physically, but it's good to meet you physically today.
I kept wondering where it is that I had seen you.
It's on the screen.
Yes, this person is very familiar. Yes. Anyway,
it's on the screen.
That now has been confirmed.
Maybe you taught together somewhere.
The possibility exists.
Yes. So, Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis, KIPPRA, is a state corporation established in 1997 and operates under the National Treasury and Planning Ministry. And we work under the State Department for Planning. The institute was established with a key mandate to support the government in entrenching and promoting evidence-based policy process, which is part of the wider public sector reform agenda, because with evidence-based policy process, you are able to not only bring together ideas from the stakeholders, get to have participation of the stakeholders, but you are also able to objectively inform the policy process. So at the moment, we are established under an Act of Parliament, number 15 of 2006, and it became effective in 2007, and we have about 12 mandates to offer in delivering on the key objective of the institute. So one of the mandates, one of the functions that we do is capacity building. And in capacity building, our niche is in policy process. In doing so, we have various programs, and we categorize them into three. One is the Young Professionals Program, where we have those who are below 35. I'm sure that I have some clients here who can join the Young Professionals Program.
Below the age of 35?
Yes.
Or not the number of teeth that you have?
No, below 35 years, the youth. They come and spend 1 year with us. And in that 1 year, we expect them not only to attend some classes, but also to do hands-on research activity. The second program that we have is called the KIPPRA Mentorship Program for University. Under this program, we organize with various universities to meet students and faculty members, and we bring into the platform various government agencies. For example, we work very closely with Kenya Vision 2030, because we need to understand the aspirations in the development agenda of this country. And we cannot say it better than the Kenya Vision 2030 can say. We also bring into the fold the youth, the Enterprise Development Fund, because they have to provide the university students with an indication of the initiatives that the government is taking, so that after school, where do you go from there? In addition, we bring in the National Values Commission. As you know, in our house of the Vision 2030, at the foundation, we have national values and principles, yeah? So we bring them in so that students can understand a key foundation in transforming the economy of this country. And the third one is, we want everybody to get an opportunity to understand the public policy, and therefore we have a commercialized aspect of capacity building. The second element is research. And in research, we undertake various activities. One of them, and I think you have been involved at one time or the other, we have what we call Kenya Economic Report, which we prepare annually. And this is a statutory requirement because we have to analyze the performance of the economy and also to show direction going forward in the medium term. Where do we see the country going? This time round, we are preparing the Kenya Economic Report 2022, and we'll be launching it very soon, so that we can see the kind of things that we are bringing together. Finally, we have the third arm, which or program that we run, is what we call engagement and networking. And under this program, we organize conferences. Last week, we were organizing our fifth KIPPRA regional annual conference. And each year, we take a theme which would help to bring together stakeholders and dialogue. So our conferences are not highly academic because what we try to do is to provide a platform where each of us can actually have an opportunity to give their views either on existing policies or also share emerging issues in a certain area. Of course, the only thing that we define for each conference is the theme. Like the theme for the recent conference was on foundations for sustainable economic transformation in Kenya. So in addition to that, we organize a lot of policy seminars where we bring together stakeholders to deliberate on a specific policy issue. And we also hold dissemination workshops so that we can share with the public exactly what we have managed to bring out from our research findings. We don't work alone as an institution. We work with various partners. They can come in terms of collaborative research work, or we can also work because it's a demand and you want us to support you in carrying out a specific activity which is within the mandate of the institute. For example, we work very, very closely with the government ministries and departments, and also at county level. And how we do it is, for example, we are invited to various task forces or working groups, which to us is a very privileged position, which any think tank would be looking for, because through those channels, we are able to really see our recommendations that we are gathering from the research. We are able to put them through the the policy process. Yeah. Of course, we work with the other giant institutions, think tanks like the Brookings Institution. We are working at the moment with looking at the urban cities with a focus on Nairobi, and we are also working with the partnership for economic policy. It's called PEP, where we are focusing on matters youth and asking the question, where are the gaps in the policy?
In policies regarding the youth.
Regarding the youth, and what next then do we need to do with the policies, with the programs, with the initiatives that have been focused on the youth.
I have a question, Daktari. Do you engage with political parties or political leadership? Like, for example, at this point, when parties are coming up with their manifestos, or even gubernatorial candidates are releasing their manifestos, do you engage with them? Do you look at what they're proposing? Do you see whether it would have an impact on future policy, or it would drive the country forward, or maybe it would fall foul of current existing policies? Now,
as an institution, you know, we are government, yeah, and when we come to general elections, you actually anticipate there will be either a new government in place, and when the new government is in place, they define what they want to achieve in the 5 years that they are in power. So as an institution, we have a key role, especially after we know who is now taking up
after the election.
After the elections. And we take up the manifestos, yeah? And look at them, interpret them in terms of what they mean in policy direction going forward, and working towards providing evidence, yeah, that would support in terms of actualizing what has been proposed. So that is the key area that we work with the political.
So it's at that point, once a new government is in office, then you look at what they had sold to the people as their plan for governance, and now you advise them at that point.
Yes.
How about engaging with them before?
As an institution, we are supposed to be apolitical.
Yeah.
In the sense that we serve the government of the day. When they are in the election mood, yeah. One of the things that you are not very certain with is who actually would be the winner, yeah. So you may have even like now we have, is it 5? Is it 4?
4 presidential candidates.
Yeah. We have only one manifesto that has come out, yeah.
Yep.
There are others that we are still waiting for, but we will be able to engage fully with the manifestos.
Okay.
When the new government is formed.
One of the things that resonates pleasantly in my ears is the list of things that KIPPRA actually does. And now, my next question is, can you tell us what it has achieved, say, in the last 5 years? This is the research they did, this is what they had hoped to achieve, and these are the outcomes they have arrived at.
Okay. Yes, I can give you the key areas, but remember I've said that we have 12 functions, yeah? So I can go down the 12 functions, and I can give you very practically what we have achieved. I'll start with one. As an institute, we are meant to put together a repository which holds policy documents, and it is open access, right?
What does open access mean?
It means that it's free for you to get into it and get the information that you're looking for. So last year, in 2021 May, we actually launched our public policy repository. And the repository carries quite a lot of things. One of them is government-related policy documents. Whether you're talking about sessional papers, you're talking about development plans, you're talking about budget speeches, you're talking about presidential speeches. All these to us have a policy direction. So if you wanted to sit down and just do a small brief, for example, on budget speeches since independence, you can actually do and see what has progressed, what has been the area of focus, how have we managed to articulate issues over time. So in addition to that is that we have reached out to counties. You see, counties from the Constitution, they have functions that they are supposed to perform.
Yes.
So they normally come up with policy documents, including the CIDPs, including their budget, annual development plans, and budget documents. Yeah. So all these things, when you put them together, one of the things you tend to realize is that you have plenty of information from which you can even compare what is going on across the counties. What is the aspirations that each county is actually looking forward to? So for us, the repository is a key milestone that we have made, where researchers who want to do research and thinking about what is it that one can look at from sessional paper number 10 of 1965?
I must admit, I'm one of the current consumers of the repository, doing some work on sanitation.
Okay.
And looking at what counties have done with regards to sanitation. Do they have sanitation policies? Do they have legislation on sanitation from national to county level? And yes, you find some information in the KIPPRA repository. So yes, I'm a user.
You are a user,
Yes.
that is the intention.
That is it. Huh?
Yes.
And it's free.
Is this applied across board, across the country, in every county?
The repository?
Yes.
The repository is applied for all the 47 counties, yeah? And what we have been doing recently, because we realize that when we request for these policy documents, sometimes one doesn't understand, why do I have to put my document
Why am I
into the
giving you?
repository?
Exactly.
Why am I giving you?
Yes.
So we've been moving around sensitizing counties, yeah, to show them the advantages of actually letting everybody to know what is it that they are thinking about in developing their counties. So nowadays we see a lot of policy documents being shared by the counties, yeah. And sometimes when we visit them and they see, we show them, this is what this county is doing, this is what you are doing. You have actually given us maybe one or nothing, yeah. That's the time that they get to realize, oh, we need also to provide information, because it's sort of an information platform.
Yes.
And that in itself is data that can be used by everybody. Yeah.
Okay. And then because everybody then consumes this data, those then who be directly involved with it, because everybody consumes it, then does it become something that is encouraged not just from the point of government, but then on the other side as well, the users? Does it then become something that they say we have to continue in this trend, then making it sustainable as a way in which you can foster business, foster development?
Yeah. Okay. I'll look at it from what is the role that we have to play. We are not saying that when we do it once, it is finished. No, we'll come. For example, we are waiting now for the next generation of CIDPs, and we'll go back to the counties and ask them, what have you put as the plans?
Yes.
Right? Because if, for example, I wanted to go and invest in, I don't know which county, Muranga, the first thing that I would want to know is, I would need information. what is the status in that county of various aspects. Is there land? What's the population? What are the resources that are available on the ground? And such kind of things, yeah? So when we put that information there, we actually, at the same time, trying to promote that county for investors outside, yeah? So for that reason, we see it like a win-win situation from both sides, yeah.
Okay.
Tell us about this conference that you are holding. So this year's conference, what are the theme and who did it bring together to the table?
Yeah, this year's conference theme was the foundations for sustainable economic transformation in Kenya. And we thought about this theme because if you look at where we are at a transitional stage. What is the first transition? We are just going for general elections, which means that we anticipate there will be a new government in place.
Yeah.
Secondly, we are just coming to the end of medium-term plan 3, which means that we'll be transitioning to medium-term plan 4. Thirdly, we are coming from a state of various shocks, including COVID-19, which has been with us for now slightly more than 2 years. And if you look at what the government policymakers are looking for is how do we sustain the growth trajectory? Yes, we did a rebound, but the next thing is to say, how do we maintain that growth trajectory? Which means that we need to look at various aspects, given the devastating effect that it had in various sectors of the economy. And also, don't forget that also since last year, we had a drought situation. So all these things, when you look at them, you ask yourself, at this juncture as a policymaker, what is it that would bring change to the economic status of this country? So that is why we have brought this theme. In addition, don't forget that we have a demographic status, that everybody talks about. Kenya is with over 70% as the youth, and you need to plan for them. And if you have to reap the youth dividend or the demographic dividend, it means that these youth need to find productive jobs, decent jobs. But what is happening? Micro and small enterprises are mushrooming heavily. And as they mushroom, when you look at the kind of jobs they are offering, they are not necessarily the one that you'd say moves you out of poverty level. So what do we need then to ensure that micro and small enterprises, the bedrock of industrialization for this country, the bedrock of economic transformation, how do we ensure that it becomes not the bed of roses, but that you facilitate the youth who are major players to see to it that tomorrow when I wake up, I have the desire actually to go in and work, and I can pay my bills very effectively each day. So that in itself is something that requires a lot of discussions in various spaces. Last year, in 2020, when we had COVID, you call it the laughter sector. It almost collapsed.
Yes.
And if you look at the media, you see several of them who are in various programs. They are looking for support. Yes. The creative economy. Yet, when you look at the creative economy, the multiplier effect of creative economy is huge. During the conference, we were given an example of if you're filming in a certain area,
Yeah.
you gather so many persons. Yeah, you have the lawyers, you have the accountants, maybe you have the caretakers, you have the crew, and all these. Yeah,
Yeah.
that itself shows you the multiplier effect that having or developing our film industry would bring in, yeah? And why? We have Nollywood, we have Hollywood. I don't know whether we can have also Collywood, Kenya, so that,
They've been calling it Riverwood.
Riverwood, Kenya. And therefore, we were able to deliberate on aspects that really are not working. Look at textile fashion industry. Everybody talk about New York, and that's Fashion Week, and you have the catwalks, and everybody is showing the fashion. How come we don't organize those ones in Kenya? Yet we all dress each day. So if we look at the backward linkages and forward linkages that textile industry can bring to this country, it can be huge. Cotton industry, and most of what has not been exploited is wool industry. If you go to these very cold areas and you look at those sheep, where do they take that wool?
Right.
Let's take a break on that note. 25 minutes to 10. Dr. Rose Ngugi is the Executive Director for KIPPRA, the Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis. We're talking about the work that they do, and especially the theme for this year's conference, Foundations of a Sustainable Economic Transformation in Kenya. What the conversations were, what they focused on, and what is going to be the focus going forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Your host this and every morning, Eric Latif Ndu Oko, CT Muga. Our guest is Dr. Rose Ngugi, the Executive Director of KIPPRA. We are talking about the conference that was recently held. Foundations for a Sustainable Economic Transformation in Kenya was the theme of that conference. And you're looking at the various areas that you are looking at. We're in a transformation season, like you said, new government coming in. We have Vision 2030, moving from medium term 3 to medium term 4. We're looking at recovery post-COVID and all these other things that then look at what kind of policy direction should the new administration take to drive the country forward. City.
I had actually diverted a little bit.
Move.
Yes.
Move there where you are.
Yes. In fact, what Dr. Ngugi and I were chit-chatting about here was she talked about the creative economy, and I was saying that the byproduct of a creative economy is a happiness economy. There's even a discipline called happiness economics that people actually study. But the index that perhaps is known better than others in the whole world was actually set in place by a certain leader in the 1970s of a country called Bhutan, okay? And they call it the Gross National Happiness Index. And it's used to measure what they call, it's an economic metric. Now, the gist of our discussion was, we've had mental health discussions. Now, there's a direct correlation between mental health issues, especially the adverse variety, and an absence of happiness. And we're saying that the happiness, the byproduct, which we call happiness, results in people being made to understand that their participation in the creative economics, in the creative aspects of the economy, is as valid as anybody else's. Because for the longest time, if you're in the arts field, the creative world, you're considered as not being particularly okay. Something wasn't quite right. Why aren't you a teacher? Why aren't you a lawyer? Why aren't you, the normal things? But the greater aspect of our chit-chat was their contribution to the psyche of the economy. We all like music, and we forget somebody creates it. Music does stuff for us. That's why people listen to music anytime they can.
Yep.
People like watching plays. People like watching movies. Again, they make us happy. Now, that contribution actually has a direct economic value. Unfortunately, those who create it in this country don't necessarily get the direct economic value of it for themselves. Yet, what they do for the country is enormous. That really was the gist of what I was thinking. Yes.
Dr. Ngugi, if we actually look at it from a policy angle, would it be like a one policy fits all, or are there several policies that would come together to support what you're talking about, the happiness economy?
Yeah, when we looked at the creative economy during the conference, so many things were coming up, yeah? And one of them is that there is no data. Data is very, very scarce. And the basis of making a good policy is actually having data. But we also learned that there is an initiative with the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, actually to build that satellite for data. We were trying to do an article on the creative economy, and that is when we realized that despite the diversity of that economy, there is only very little data that is gathered, and that does not help you to really move forward with. So that's the first thing. But the other thing we also came to realize is that there is only one national theatre. The infrastructure is not there. And to December, which means that very few of us who would really want to be happy going for those plays that we used to go some time back, you really have to struggle. But can we, if we were to have more infrastructure and build it, then it would make it easier for us to enjoy. Of course, other issues that were brought up is about the legal framework, the intellectual property rights issues, and how you need to consolidate these intellectual property rights such that you contextualize them and make, like he's saying, everybody benefit from it, But that requires, again, to have participation of the stakeholder. There are some situations where, in government, when you have a legal framework, a bill, stakeholders are called upon to come and make contribution. Right now, that law is in place. But they don't actually respond. The bill becomes act, and that time things start coming out that we were actually not involved, or we were not given an opportunity. You're given an opportunity to come and actually make a difference in strengthening the legal framework for the creative economy.
What is the push by KIPPRA or anybody else in terms of, adjoined stakeholders to say, can there be sustainable economic infrastructure and development in a transitionary period, and saying these are then the 3, 4, 5 pillars then that the country should be focused on moving forward? Because I can only imagine that we're saying this is a transition period, and we know that economic development is at the very heart and center of any government coming in or any government that was there. So then what are the things that then would be the insistence saying these are the things that we must focus on and they are actually sustainable?
In economic development, there are 3 key things that we talk about that define a country saying it's developed. And one of them is basic needs, having access and being able to meet your basic needs. For example, if you look at the Big Four agenda, it talks about issues of food security, so having food on your table. It talks about housing, so having a roof on your head. It talks about having money in your pocket, that is through employment. And it also talks about good health, So if you look at those 4 key elements, they are basic needs. Whether at independence, whether today, whether tomorrow, we must actually focus on basic needs, first and foremost. So in the second element of what you define in development, this is economic development 101, is the aspect of self-esteem, and also being able to make choices. And with self-esteem, one of the things I remember when Governor Mutua was the government spokesperson. Yeah, he had I can't remember what was. There's something that he was trying to talk about. Yeah,
Najivunia kuwa Mkenya.
Najivunia kuwa Mkenya. And that has brought in the aspect of national values. Yeah, and these national values are actually meant to bring that to build up in terms of the national element, yeah? Kujivunia is one thing, but in development, self-esteem is very crucial. If you go to America, an American will always say, I am American, yeah? A Kenyan should also go somewhere and say, I am a Kenyan, right? But there is something that you have to be proud about for your country. When it comes to choices, yeah? It means that okay, you have a choice to watch Manu, you have a choice to watch Gor Mahia, but what do you want? Yeah, I have a choice. Have I been provided that framework for me to actually enjoy that? So for me, when one is thinking about even in a transition, one needs to ask where do you want to take economic development next, and how do you ensure that the three key elements that define development are actually sustained, because you can't say that you reach a point where there is there is no basic need that is required. Yeah.
You know, this discussion that we're having, I get the feeling that we're only touching the surface. That would actually like you to come back so that we can delve into this thing. Because one, I'm looking at the mandate of KIPPRA. And the thing that I find daunting and which now depletes my happiness levels is is how little we utilize what is readily available to us by virtue of what KIPPRA has done. Because they say information is power, but the sort of information that KIPPRA churns out is revolutionary, meaning it's a sort of information which when you have, so many things can actually change. So many misdirections that we see within the county system, within the country, can actually change. And yet, this information is archived. It sits there. And even those who principally should actually utilize it, probably just use a little bit of it. Now, let me ask the question. Given what KIPPRA does, are you also allowed to prescribe, for instance, tell the incoming government that, folks, this is the distance we've gone thus far with the things we've recommended. For us to achieve the things that you seem to be talking about, we would strongly advise, in fact, insist in our advice that this is the path that you ought to follow. And this is data-driven. We've done the research and we're telling you this is it. Same for the county governments. Is it possible for KIPPRA to do that?
Actually, that is the mandate we have. Our mandate is actually to advise the government, and we have to base it on data and on evidence. I'll tell you, for example, what we are doing at the moment in preparing ourselves, say even to support the counties. Yeah, we are putting together technical reports. These technical reports are such that you go to a county, you collect all this holistic amount of information, yeah? And what that will help us is to say that if you are to start engaging when you are preparing your CIDP, we would tell you, are you focusing on the priorities that are there? Because you can go to a county and you find these are the resources that are available, yeah? But then when you look at the priorities that may be put, then they may not actually be reflecting what is in the resources that are available. Because comparative advantage is always something good to think about and to drive forward. Yeah. Secondly, if you look at our Kenya Economic Report, which for us is a flagship report. Yeah, we cover various issues, and each time we have a theme. Yeah, this is a report that is approved by our cabinet secretary for it to be distributed. Yeah, for it to be shared externally. So the minute it's done that, like we did in 2017, we were able to sit down with the parliament during the induction period, yeah? And we were able to tell them, these are the things that we have brought out, yeah? As aspects that you need to take into account as you think about the way forward. We also tell you, this is where, from our analysis, the economy is with various issues. So that is actually the mandate that we have as an institution. And our publications exactly do that. We have, for example, if you go to our website, you'll find, for example, something we call a market analysis report. What does it give you? It gives you a status on quarterly basis of several things in the economy. We have also a policy monitor. The policy monitor provides you with a snapshot of things that we are looking at and they are emerging, and we need to give you some information, but things that we go back and also do thorough research on. Yeah, we have discussion papers. There are very many, over 300, over 600. If you need to enrich yourself with information, that's where we go. But as I said, when we participate in working groups, in task forces, when a ministry also comes to us and say they are developing this kind of policy document, we join in. And when we join in, we actually pull our evidence into informing that policy.
Dr. Ngugi, do you think KIPPRA needs more teeth to bite so that your recommendations become binding and are not just suggestions to be considered at some point by a willing government, willing national government or willing county government, that at any point, if any government at whatever level is considering development of a policy, they should start with, or they should engage you as, a non-negotiable prerequisite?
As a think tank and as far as our act is concerned at the moment, as I indicated, we are here to generate evidence and provide advice. Yeah, we are just one of the components of the policy process. There are so many other stakeholders, and they'll have to consider and prioritize and move forward. But we have to provide that evidence, and we have to provide that advice.
What I'm asking indirectly. So let me ask you directly.
Yes.
How important do you think KIPPRA is in that ecosystem of policy making?
KIPPRA is very, very critical.
Very critical.
Yes.
Okay. So should it advice be binding?
I may not want to say it to be binding, but does it inform? I think that is a better question. Okay. Does it inform? And I would say yes, it does. Because when the government is, for example, even developing MTP4, when the government is developing the National Youth Policy, they utilize evidence that we provide. But in the policy process, there are so many competing needs. And the process is elaborate. Because even after you identify and you are very clear that you have 100 things that needs attention, given the resources and the time element, you may find that you need to find a way of just coming with 5 key elements that need to be done.
And that is where KIPPRA now should be the one that identifies the 5 key elements. Pushing an agenda. But thank you very much, Dr. Rose Ngugi, for joining us today, and for all the good work that you've been doing.